Hey guys, let's take a look at this Harbor Freight MIG 170. Right off the bat, I want to mention that a year or two ago they had a MIG 180 in their stores, and I never ended up picking one of those up. I've seen them pop up every once in a while on the classified ads, but so far the only difference I can see between this MIG 170 and their 180 is the 180 has an actual knob to go between their four settings. It still has the same four settings, just the knob had an A, B, C, and D instead of a min, max, and a 1, 2. The wire feed control looked to be the same infinite control, so whether that's just one of Harbor Freight's ploys of getting out another item, I don't know. Either way, if someone has one of those other machines and can point out some of the other differences, that'd be great. Continuing on, this guy is a 240 volt only machine. Keep that in mind. It is not a dual voltage. You can't switch over between 110 and 220. It is a 220 or 240. It's all nominal. It's a higher voltage. So if you don't have that in your garage, you're either going to need to get it or run a long extension cord. So this guy being a basic, just not having an infinite control for your settings, it does make it a little harder to dial down a good weld if you've got a certain material that's kind of right in the middle of the one. But either way, you can kind of mess around with your wire speed and still get a pretty good weld. This is just your average typical MIG gun, nothing special here. It is a MIG gun, meaning that you do have the gas line coming up through it, so you can hook up your MIG gas to it. Your ground clamp is by far as cheap as you can get. I think that's this is the exact same one. Exact same one as on their 125. If you're going to keep this machine for a while, first thing I'd do is chop this off and go pick up their either their braided copper or their brass clamp, and they're not too expensive. They're only about 10 bucks or so. Well worth it. And like I said, it is a 220 machine. It comes with a 50 amp 6-50p plug. So if you don't have that style in your garage, then you're going to be cutting it, splicing, and getting your other plug. Just make sure that the amperage can handle it. So let's take a look at the settings and then we'll go underneath the hood. Just your run-of-the-mill settings here. It does give you both your flux core and MIG settings. Max thickness for both of them is 1/4 inch, and a minimum for both of them is 22 gauge. It does have a 20% duty cycle. And if you don't know what that means, it means you can run for 2 minutes and then you have to rest for 8. But in reality, for your home garage, 2 minutes straight that's actually quite a bit of welding. Usually, like me, I'm just doing a bunch of short little welds, and I've had no issues with the Harbor Freight welder's duty cycle. It would be interesting to note, if you know anything about MIG welding, typically MIG welding you can go down a little thinner, as you will, or in other words, the heat is taken out with the gas, so you don't get as hot of a weld with MIG welding. So I'm actually kind of surprised that they both have the same minimum settings and the same maximum. Pretty basic underneath the hood. You've got your 2 leads coming out for your positive and negative. Really easy to switch over between your flux and your MIG. Same Chinese, really cheap wire feed system that makes the funny noise, just like your 125. In addition, you do have your gas inlet coming through. And then, of course, it does look like the bay is big enough for a 10-pound spool. It doesn't come with that little extra spool holder, but it is look large enough like the others welders out there on the market for a 10-pound spool. Usually I just throw in the small 5-pound or 2 pounds here anyways. So as you can see, I already have flux core in there. I am going to keep that in there and do some of my test welds right now, and then after that we'll switch it over to solid core. So the only thing I wanted to mention as I'm finishing hooking up my MIG setup is that keep in mind that keep in mind that it does not come with a regulator or any solid core wire. So just a couple extra things you're going to need if you want to go with the MIG. Well, I'd have to say for one of the cheapest MIG welders out on the market, this guy actually put out some decent welds. I was most surprised about the flux core. Those three were the flux core, these three are the MIG. Man, I'd have to say with a little cleanup, those guys didn't turn out half bad. And then I just obviously was messing around a little more with the MIG. So here shortly I might throw out another video with kind of the min-max settings on this guy, but just as an overall hobby, in your garage welder, this guy's not too bad. Thanks for watching. See you next time.